Alright, what is going on, guys? My name is Leon Master. Welcome back to another Overwatch League video, and today, guys, I am bringing you guys another top 10. We have not done one of these for a while, and I felt like doing one because this is just a topic I've always liked to talk about: players getting traded, or that should get traded, that need to get traded to show how good they are. And I really wanted to do one for this season because there's so many good players that are on the bench this season. I just want to see them go to a different team and just do their thing. To start off and saying how I am going to do this list is that I am picking 10 players that should get traded or potentially could get traded in the future, and I'm ranking them from 10 to 1, obviously, but I'm ranking them from them getting traded. Like, some of these players that are on the rosters could get traded, but like also couldn't. But like when I get more to the top 5 area, I could see those guys 100% getting traded. So like there's a chance that these guys are getting traded. Is kind of how I'm ranking them. Like at number 10, it's a very low chance of these guys getting traded, but should get traded. And number 1 is like, this person should get traded, and I feel like it could get traded and go to a different team. That's what I'm kind of like saying here. To start it off, though, number 10, the player I see potentially getting traded, but also not. It's very hard to say about this player right now. It is Manu on the NYE XL. Now, I know this one is kind of a long shot because Manu is obviously just turned 18, and he's played like a couple games. If I look in my notes, he has only played 2 maps on the NY XL so far, which is not a lot, and they've used more Animo than Manu so far, which I think a lot of people honestly did not expect as much. I kind of expected Animo to keep playing, but not mainly. Maybe a little bit of a rotation, but Manu is sitting on the bench. But who knows, maybe NYXL is planning on using him on the next season, and Animo will be out for the next season. That's a potential option. Or Manu is going to get traded, and the teams that I have an option for trading them. And when I bring up players like this, I want to like obviously put out a solution or where they could go when I make videos like these. So I think you will see a pattern as well here of every player. So the 3 teams I think Manu could go to that could help them out a lot is Toronto Defiant, Washington Justice, and this one's a long shot, but I have my explanation, is LA Gladiators. So Toronto, it's an obvious one. When I look at Toronto Defiant, Cruz, when he first came in, I do gotta say, he's making the team look a little bit more cleaner than when Kelix was on. Look a little bit more coordinated. It's falling apart again. Washington Justice, Arc is just not that good anymore. He's still, I say, average at best. But you also need to revamp the Washington Justice roster at some point. You can't keep using the same players. And then on to LA Gladiators. The reason I put LA Gladiators down here is because Gladiators is on a slump, I guess you could say. They're not doing so good this season. And I say maybe, I don't know if this is the real reason why they're not doing good, and maybe one of the main reasons they're not doing good, but don't quote me on it, is maybe their support line. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? They've had the support line for 2 seasons now. Well, do they need new players? Potentially. So maybe Manu comes in over Big Goose at some point next season or during this season. And I think all around, Manu could help out this team. I'm not 100% saying it, but there's a possibility. Something's wrong with the LA Gladiators. No one really knows what it is from an outside perspective. Maybe something's happening internally, but maybe you need to upgrade that support duo at some point, and I think Manu could be a good start to that. But yeah, I think Manu, the 3 teams that I've listed, Toronto, Glads, and Washington, could be a huge step up. But the one I look at the most here is probably Toronto Defiant, because Cruz is just not that good anymore. And I always knew he wasn't going to be good for the Toronto Defiant, but I think Manu would help this team out a lot. Now to number 9, it is Paco on the Atlanta Reign. Now this is another one I don't see happening, but there's a chance. Atlanta Reign has used Gator way more than Paco this season. Paco has played 16 maps, and that is 4 matches in total basically in all those maps, but those maps came from multiple games. But I feel like Paco, all around, he's still good. He still has potential to be as good as he was last season, and he can be put in, because I still see them using Gator no matter what, in any meta that happens. Orisa meta for Gator, Reinhardt's one of Gator's best heroes, and even Winston. So for Gator. So that's all I see. I see them running Gator from here on out. So Paco, I think, is a good option run here. And the 3 teams I have on here is Houston Outlaws, Toronto Defiant, and Washington Justice. Like I said, you're going to see a pattern. So expect those 2 teams, Toronto and Washington, to be the normal team we're going to talk about. Houston Outlaws, the reason I put Houston Outlaws here is because, an obvious reason, they don't really have a main tank player. And what I mean by that is, yes, they have Hydration, who is the main tank right now, but he's obviously known for his DPS, and he likes being a DPS player. He's very flexible as well. That's why he's playing the main tank. But I feel like just for Houston Outlaws, I feel like it's kind of best for them to actually find a main tank player who's been playing it their entire time playing it on Overwatch. And I feel like Paco could be a good step for the Houston Outlaws with also Meko and just how their team's turning into. I feel like Houston Outlaws could also get a huge upgrade with Paco on their team and then put Hydration on his other really comfortable roles like the Genji we're in right now. But that's just an option I'm throwing out there. Paco could be great on the Houston Outlaws, I feel like, in general. But I feel like all around, if they got Paco, I feel like Hydration's DPS hero pool would help them out a lot, especially in the meta we're in right now of Genji, and then, whatever the hit skin wants to run with that as well, Widow, Ashe, whatever they want to run. I feel like Hydration, if he went on the Genji and then they brought Paco in for the main tank, that would be a great sight to see for the Houston Outlaws. They could do even better than they are right now. They obviously have Blase who can play the Genji, Dante who can play the Genji, but you probably want Dante on, obviously, like Tracer and Sombra possibly. But yeah, that's really it for Paco. Toronto is an obvious one. Numlocked and Beast are not the best. Paco will upgrade that team up by a lot. And the same thing goes for Washington Justice. They've needed a main tank upgrade this entire season. I thought Roar was going to do good, but he definitely isn't. Now on to number 8. It is Creative on the Seoul Dynasty. And the only team I really found for Creative was Vancouver Titans. And before we go on even more, I do want to say we don't know yet if Season 4 is going to have expansion teams. So all these players I'm listing could also go to like maybe an expansion team Season 4. I don't know that just yet, but I'm trying my best to find teams that could definitely fit these players. And Creative for Vancouver Titans, the reason I'm listing this, because Rolf, my opinion, I've always seen Rolf as like the weak spot. He is getting better though. I do gotta say he is getting better right now on the Vancouver Titans. But I feel like Creative could get better. I do gotta say this though, I have not watched Creative a lot back in his Contenders days. I've watched his like 2 maps or 1 on his Seoul match so far. I feel like it was alright. Obviously it's not enough to like have a full opinion on him in the Overwatch League just yet. But I feel like if Rolf does not perform that well the rest of the season, I feel like he should bring someone in like Creative. I've heard great things of Creative back when he's on Contenders and even now from like casters and analysts and all that. So I feel like Creative to Vancouver would not be that bad. Now on to number 7, it is Sharp on the Atlanta Reign. Now this one was very hard to find teams for. There's always going to be the obvious ones, right? So the 2 teams I chose for Sharp is Washington Justice and the Boston Uprising, not Toronto Defiant. So Washington Justice, when I look at Stitch, I feel like Stitch is that kind of player who needs to be around his former teammates because Stitch shines with his original runaway Vancouver Titans team, but on the Washington Justice, Stitch looks lost. Really, he's definitely improving with these past 2 games that they have played recently. He's looked like the bright spot when it comes to the DPS, but I feel like I said, if Washington Justice needs to do a revamp, I feel like Sharp could bring him in a great direction potentially. Sharp's a great player who needs to be in Overwatch League, but when I look at all these teams that could have Sharp, I don't see him using them. To be honest, I feel like Sharp could definitely be in an expansion team next season if that is the case. Now to the Boston Uprising, I do feel like when I made this list when it comes to the Boston Uprising, I have to think of how these players would choose their contracts because a lot of like 80% or 90% of players would not choose the Boston Uprising contract 100% of the time, and that's also not how Boston does their things really. They don't really do that many trades. The only one they've ever done, to my knowledge, is RCK and Note. But if Sharp went to Boston Uprising, it would definitely help some of their DPS situations with Color Hex and make their DPS look a little bit better right now, but that would not help their team massively. I just feel like Sharp could take that Boston contract so he can show how good he is and then go into a different team, just like how Boston does their things. Now on to the next one, number 6. It is going to be Hangzhou Sparks Otto, which we have not seen really play at all this season. Only 2 maps on the Hangzhou Spark. And he's only played Mei so far, and I think Reaper, which obviously is not enough to have a full opinion on him. But if we're aware of his past with the Shanghai Dragons and the Justice, I feel like Otto could still be in the Overwatch League and be on a team where he could show how good he is. And the 2 teams I chose for him is Vancouver Titans and Toronto Defiant. Now, this is just for Toronto Defiant. They make a full revamp next season and he gets traded there. That's the main reason I chose Toronto. But also Vancouver. If you guys have noticed, Vancouver Titans does not have a projectile player. And we're going to be talking about that a lot in the rest of this video. Vancouver Titans needs a projectile player, especially in this meta we're in right now. They don't have one. And I don't think Shockwave and Dalton will bring them that far with double hit scan. Even though they're great players. Dalton and Shockwave are great players. I don't see that helping them with the Genji meta we're currently in. So I feel like if Vancouver finds one of these projectile players I'll be listing throughout this video, I feel like Otto could be a great start, but it's very hard to say right now because I have not seen Otto play, but obviously when you're behind the scenes and doing scrims, you see all of that. Now we'll do number 5. It is Fire on the Atlanta Reign, And just like a lot of these other players who were previously on Team Envy, kind of like Sharp and Jaru, these guys were great players, needed to be in the Overwatch League, but it's very hard to find teams for these guys that I could say they could get traded to. So I have 3 teams. It is Toronto Defiant, Washington Justice, and LA Gladiators. And I do also want to say this. Atlanta Reign could be prepping for Season 4. That's why they signed Fire. That could be a completely possible option. But I also want to mention these 3 teams. Toronto Defiant, like I said, Cruz is not good. Fire would honestly make this team probably even better than what we're seeing right now. Fire going to Toronto would help this team massively, I feel like. And then also Washington Justice, a whole revamp kind of thing, kind of for next season, not this season, but he would still help. And LA Gladiators, just like the thing I said of Manu, I think it's time to revamp that support duo, see if something new kind of helps the Gladiators, but we'll see what happens. I think him and the Gladiators could be good, potentially, but we'll need to see where that would go, to be honest. But I feel like Fire could be prepping for the next season with Atlanta. That could be a case, but I'd like to see him on Toronto for sure, because I feel like he would change Toronto by a lot. Now to number 4, and number 4 is going to be Toronto Defiant Beast. And the reason I put Beast on this list is because he's a main tank player. And what's the one team that needs a main tank right now that I've been listing so far is Houston Outlaws. That's the only team I'm really listed for him. And I can see Beast 100% getting traded to a team. And the team I thought of was the Houston Outlaws. They need a main tank player, so they have obviously a hydration playing DPS. And I feel like Beast was not really motivated on the Toronto Defiant. We've heard things about him not really motivated on the Toronto Defiant, which was kind of hard for me to rank him on this list if he would get traded to a team. But I feel like if Beast in particular went to a team like Houston Outlaws, where they're doing pretty good right now, and it would help him with his motivation and just want to win games. I feel like Beast would definitely want to do that on the Houston Outlaws. Maybe it would be a downgrade. I could see that for sure. But Beast is definitely better than Muma. And then maybe the hydration, maybe. But I feel like putting a hydration on his comfort picks like Genji, especially right now, would be huge for Houston. And also putting Beast on main tank, with him being probably comfortable in this team, would be really good for the Houston Outlaws, and especially for Beast. That's just my 2 cents, but I don't see him getting any playtime over Toronto Defiant, over Numlock, I should say, anytime soon. But that's my 2 cents on Beast going to Houston Outlaws. Now on to number 3, a player we've talked about so many times throughout the season with rumors and all that. It is Bianca on the NYE XL. I feel like Bianca, and I feel like everyone else knows, Bianca has so many chances to go to a different Overwatch League team and just pop off, honestly. And there's 3 teams I have here, and there's 2 different teams. And the first one we're going to talk about is obviously Toronto Defiant. It's just an obvious one, Toronto Defiant. Seoul Dynasty in Dallas Fuel, the normal rumor one. So Toronto Defiant, what else is there to say? Nevix has been pretty, I'm just going to say he's been pretty bad this season, not that good. And I expected that this season too. And then Seoul Dynasty, I think if you've noticed, if you watch the APAC region, Michelle does not play, and Marvel does play the off-tank, which he's doing alright of a job. But I feel like if you have someone like Bianca, who's mainly an off-tank player, it comes in with gesture, I feel like Bianca can make Seoul really good, especially with the whole tank situation going on. I feel like Bianca to Seoul Dynasty would be helping them by a long shot in the long run. Now on to Dallas Fuel. Now, this one was very weird to put on because Note has been performing very good recently. But I also feel like Bianca could be better than Note at the same time and to start over him, and also bring some new players in. And if he was going to get benched, it would make Note want to compete for that starting spot more, and even Bianca to go over that starting spot because he knows it's possible. So I feel like the main 2 teams I would probably want him the most is definitely Toronto and Seoul. Dallas would be last though, but I feel like there's always a chance for him going to Dallas, especially for next season. But I definitely think at some point Bianca is going to get traded. I don't see him going over Hoppa anytime soon, not even next season, and maybe an expansion team if those are going to happen in Season 4. But Bianca definitely needs to get traded. He's such a good player. Now on to number 2. It is Jaru on the LA Gladiators, and I feel like Jaru has so much potential, and we're just not seeing it on the LA Gladiators. Jaru's very flexible. I feel like a lot of casual Owl fans do not know that when it comes to the Glads roster, because they have Mirror, and they just signed Kefster, and they have Jaru in the sub and the bench. I feel like Jaru is definitely Overwatch League level, and I feel like the teams are going to list you guys as teams that he could definitely show how good he is. And in order, I have it read as Vancouver Titans, Washington Justice, Boston Uprising, Toronto Defiant, and just like Sharp, I feel like he would also take the contract to go to Boston Uprising. And also, Sharp and Jaru were also a duo at some point, if I am correct, back on Team Envy. I could be wrong, but they were a duo, so they would have that synergy if they went to Boston Uprising together. And all around, I feel like Sharp Jaru is better than Jerry Colorax. You could keep Jerry, as like a little like rotation of Jaru and Jerry, but that's all I gotta say with Boston. Toronto Defiant, a revamp. Basically, he could start over agilities. I feel like this whole DPS stuff is kind of strange for me to really predict here. I feel like Jaru could be better than agilities, and also Jaru's just a little bit more flexible on the heroes he's on, because agilities is only really good at Genji we've seen recently. His Brig was kind of bad season 2, and his Pharah has been pretty good as well, but that's all we really know for agilities is Pharah and Genji. That comes to my mind. There's obviously more heroes he plays. Jaru plays so many. He's very flexible, and I feel like he could do that on Toronto Defiant and also start all the time. Washington Justice, the same one I'm going to talk to you guys about. Vancouver Titans, just like Otto, Vancouver Titans needs a projectile player, and I feel like Jarl could definitely help there and just be a good Genji, especially in this meta, for the Vancouver Titans. Now on to number 1, and this is the player that has not gotten any playtime except for a map or two on the LA Valiant, and I definitely see him getting traded. It is Apply on the LA Valiant. I think this guy has so much potential when it comes to the Overwatch League. We've only seen him like also once or twice for the Florida Mayhem back in season 2, and he actually showed a pretty good performance, and now he's benched on the Florida Mayhem. And then LA Valiant, I thought he was gonna probably get some playtime. Maybe he will, this upcoming weekend. They have KSF and Apply on the bench for the Genji meta. We'll see where that goes. But I feel like there's the team Apply would like to go to and show how good he is. I feel like it would be Vancouver, and also Boston. Uprising is another team on my list, and I feel like he would take that contract. Maybe not. But I feel like out of the teams I listed, Vancouver Titans is a team Apply should go to right now if he wants to show how good he is and just play the Genji. His Genji is like one of his best heroes. He's also very flexible, so it would help the Vancouver Titans and also make a DPS rotation. I feel like Vancouver Titans needs to find a projectile DPS player now, and I feel like out of all the ones I've listed, they should look at those. Apply, Jaru, Otto, and yeah, that's really it. I feel like those guys would help them out by a lot, and then maybe even creative, like I listed, and it would help the backline a little bit more. I feel like Vancouver needs to look at these projectile players and decide if they want to side them or not, because they need a projectile or a main projectile player now instead of doing double hit scan. That's not gonna probably help them out in the long run. So yeah, that is the top 10 players I think need to get traded to a different team. What do you guys think? What player do you want to get traded to a team? Will it be your favorite team? Is it one of your favorite players you like to see that are on the bench right now and go to a different team? There's obviously a pattern that we have here with Toronto and Washington. And I also want to say, I could be right with these. I checked back on my old Season 2 video about top 10 players that need to get traded or should get traded, and I got a 5 out of 10 right, which I see that as a win in my book. And obviously those other players kind of retired. The 5 that I listed did end up getting traded or went back to the team. Like Bishu was in there. Bishu went to the Guangzhou Charge, then also went back to LA Gladiators. So I think I popped off in that first one. Let's see if I pop off on this one for this season or next season. Anyways, guys, that's going to be for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to join my Discord down below. Also, don't forget to follow my Twitter and my Twitch. And don't forget to hit that bell. And don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.